Did the US military really have direct ongoing interaction with non-human beings, identified internally as EBE 1, EBE 2, and EBE 3? Let's talk about the EBE narrative, one of the most controversial and explosive claims to ever circulate inside UFO lore. First, what does EBE even mean? EBE stands for Extraterrestrial Biological Entity. That terminology didn't come from sci-fi fans. It allegedly comes from internal military and intelligence language used to distinguish biological occupants from craft or technology. If the story is true, that alone tells you something important. This wasn't hypothetical. The EBE story emerges most clearly from leaked documents, insider testimony, and whistleblower accounts beginning in the late Cold War period. Names like Roswell, crash retrievals, and black programs are often attached, but the EBE narrative goes further. It claims survivors. EBE 1. According to the story, EBE 1 was recovered alive following a crash in the late 1940s. Not debris, not remains, a living being. EBE 1 was allegedly transported to a secure military facility and kept alive for a limited time. Interaction was minimal, communication difficult, and according to multiple versions of the story, EBE 1 eventually passed from biological incompatibility. But before that happened, the military allegedly learned something critical. These beings were not hostile, but they were also not allies. On to EBE 2. This is where the story changes dramatically. EBE 2 is said to have been recovered later, with better condition and greater longevity. Unlike EBE 1, EBE 2 allegedly communicated, not casually, not openly, but enough to establish basic understanding. According to insiders, EBE 2 explained that their presence was long-term, they were not here to invade, and they had strict limitations on interference. But here's the part that made military planners uneasy. They did not consider humanity a peer, not enemies and not equals, just observers. EBE 2 reportedly remained alive for an extended period under strict containment, and during this time, the US military allegedly realized something unsettling. We were not in control of the situation. On to EBE 3. EBE 3 is the most disturbing part of the narrative because EBE 3 is not described as a crash survivor. EBE 3 is described as intentional contact, a being that arrived knowing it would be interacting with human authorities. According to the story, protocols already existed, facilities were prepared, and interaction was anticipated. That implies prior understanding or prior encounters. EBE 3 is often described as highly intelligent, emotionally detached, extremely cautious, and fully aware of human military capability. And according to claims, EBE 3 made one thing clear: disclosure was not humanity's decision alone. There is no publicly verified proof that EBE 1, EBE 2, or EBE 3 even existed. No photos, no bodies, and no official confirmation. But here's why the EBE story refuses to go away. It matches patterns we now openly acknowledge as extreme compartmentalization, programs hidden even from presidents, long-term secrecy justified as national security, and repeated military encounters with unknown craft. The language aligns and the structure aligns. And modern whistleblowers describe the same architecture, just without the names. So what is the EBE story really about? It's not asking you to believe aliens lived on a base, it's asking something more uncomfortable. If non-human intelligence existed, would the public ever be told the truth? Or would it be buried in layers of secrecy, coded language, and stories so unbelievable that most people dismiss them automatically? Maybe EBE 1, 2, and 3 were fiction, or maybe the labels were placeholders for something real that couldn't be discussed openly. Either way, the EBE narrative serves a purpose. It maps out how disclosure would actually happen. Not all at once, not with announcements, but fragmented, contradictory, and if the EBE story is even partially true, then disclosure didn't start recently, it started decades ago, and we were never meant to be a part of it.